guys, Miss Kulkarni here. So are you ready to work on some exam questions? And we are going to focus on empirical and molecular formula calculations. So let's get ready. So this is one sample question and it talks about an analgesic which is bute. It really exists, by the way, and it is used in horses. The elemental analysis are given to you and then we have to find empirical formula. Before we get into the details about the data, do you remember how do we calculate empirical formula? So there's a song. When we know the percent of every element, what do? From percent to the mass. Yes, you go from percent to the mass and then we go from mass to the moles. So two steps, percent to the mass and mass to the moles. And once you get to the moles, what do? We divide by the smallest. It's easy. You find the smallest number and you divide. So when you divide by the smallest, and when you divide by the smallest, if you get whole number, you're done. If not, what do? You multiply, multiply, and multiply till the whole. So if you got that, let's get started with our problem. So in this problem, what you have is elements carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen are given to you. We know the percent of these three, but we don't know the percent of oxygen. How do you find out? That should be simple. What's the total percentage? That must be 100%. So there you go. You add all these three percentages and you subtract from 100. So what do you get? We have 10.37% of oxygen. The next step is the calculation for empirical formula and we're going to use that song. Are we ready? Let's proceed. So that's going to be our solution. And the first step is percent to the mass. So let's get to the mass. If we have 100 grams of the substance, this will be exactly 73.99 grams of carbon and 6.55 grams. So all these will go into grams. So we got taken care of mass. And next step is mass to the moles. And how do you do that? You divide by the molar mass. Molar mass for carbon is 14.01. And we got for hydrogen and nitrogen. And let's do it round figure for oxygen, 16.00. So what do we get when you divide these? So there you go. Those are our moles. The next step is divide by the smallest. And look at this. Which is the smallest one? These two look almost same. But this is probably the smallest one. So we're going to divide each of that by 0.6481. The smallest number. And let's see what you got. That was easy. And now, what is the last step? If you don't get the whole number, 9.5 is not the whole number. So what do? We multiply, multiply, and multiply till the whole. So what do we need to multiply 9.5 by to get a whole number? Obviously, if you multiply by 2, you can end up having a whole number. And look at this. That's what we got. 19, 22, and 2. So let's put those with our elements. And we got our empirical formula. So carbon, we have 19. Hydrogen, we got 20. Nitrogen should be 2. And oxygen should be 2. there you go. We got our empirical formula for the compound but the analgesic. Now let's move to the next step. We have to calculate the molecular formula. We have been given the molar mass for but, and we also know the empirical formula at this point. So what we need to find out is the molar mass for empirical formula. In other words, it is empirical formula mass. And how do we calculate that? This is just multiplying number of atoms by the atomic mass, and we multiply and add, and that gives me empirical formula mass as 308. The next step is we need to find out the factor. How do you find out the factor? You divide the molar mass of the compound by empirical formula mass. So the molar mass is 308.37 and our empirical formula mass is 308. I'm not even going to bother to use calculator. They are roughly about same. So I can tell you this is going to be approximately 1. If your factor is 1, you multiply empirical formula with that, and that is our molecular formula, which will be in this case the same as empirical formula. Now just keep in mind, if the factor is different, you will be multiplying with that number and you will get a different answer. So there you go. Now you know how to calculate empirical formula and molecular formula when you know the percent by mass. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you again in next video. Stay tuned. Until then, bye-bye.